Is this thing on? Great. Vagabond's a solid starting choice if you want to go and cave someone's skull in with a big metal slab, but also acknowledges the fact that absolutely nothing in this game scales with strength alone, so it throws in some dex to sweeten the pot. If you want an easy playthrough that still makes you feel like you're putting in effort, waltz your way down to the Bloodhound's Everjail and smack the dog until it stops moving to get yourself a steaming hot Bloodhound's Fang. This class is also fun for the starting area where you can guard counter the shit out of anything that moves and riposte them back to the Shattering. Good for Soulspawn vets who want to shit themselves remembering their glory days all the way back in DS1, where everything folded like fucking cardboard the second they started using the Euthanizer 1000, otherwise commonly referred to as the Zweihander. Also good for if you want to use the Bloodhound's Fang, though you'll need to pump dexterity before you can, but that just gives you more reasons to smack people on the head with your big fuck you axe. Come on, you know exactly why you're picking this one. The second you trick Melina into placing Torrent in your care, you're gonna gallop your happy ass down to Fort Height to grab that bloody Slash Ash of War and slap it on both your scimitars to blitz through the early to mid game until you get your greasy Dorito dust covered hands on the Rivers of Blood katana. And if you haven't done that, well, you're either lying or you're the exception that proves the rule. Most people don't seem to use this class for its intended purpose, which is honestly a shame. The bandit starts off with the buckler shield, which is a great shield for parrying the living fuck out of anything that moves, but most people look at the bleed build-up on the great knife and go, ooh, number big, much good. Don't get me wrong, the knife has some solid bleed build-up for a starting weapon, but if it's bleed you're looking for, stick around till I talk about the samurai. Ultimately, if you're not using this class to stagger and then stab bosses in the balls, pull your head out of DS3 and try something new instead of just spamming R1. Welcome to Shadow Wizard Money Gang. In case you didn't know, we love casting spells. I don't really have too much to say on this class. Everyone says that magic trivializes the game, which it does to some degree, but for the most part it's still fairly challenging. At least it is if you're me and you prioritize having armor that complements your class instead of having actual defense. One of the two starting spells for this class, Glintstone Pebble, is surprisingly powerful and will probably stick with you through the rest of the game, while the other, Glintstone Arc, is a decent enough crowd control spell to warrant using it until you replace it with something else, which you'll probably find in Rea Lucaria, because from that point on the world's your fucking oyster. Astrologer, but this time they actually want you to use your sword for longer than 10 minutes. This class is based around the idea of having the best of both strength and int builds, but a big part of that concept gets lost in the transition. The Estoc, the rapier you start with, deals decent enough damage for the early game, but whenever you use it, it always feels like whatever you're fighting is just going to hyper armor through your next attack, so just take that into consideration. On top of that, there's a dozen different strength int weapons you can get early on that you can use to beat Margit 7 different shades of blue with, so sorry Estoc enjoyers, but rapiers have already had their moment in Dark Souls 2. If you feel the same, still want something to slash at people with, then go grab the Royal House Scroll and shove it in Sellen's face to get the Carrion Slicer spell, and even though that has the same problem as the Estoc, its damage output more than makes up for it. Oh yeah, and the Prisoner's got the Magic Glint Blade, which is also pretty good. Yeah, I don't really have anything to say about it. Sorcery Part 2, Pride Month Edition. Again, not too much to say on this one, aside from the fact that Catch Flame unironically melts everything in the early game. Prophet has a pretty easy early game, seeing as after you pressure Melina into inviting you back to her place, you can chat with Corrin to get the Flame Sling, which will allow you to melt everything better and more effectively than Catch Flame, not to mention all of Gerank's spells. Just do me a favour, stay away from PvP with those bestial incantations. I still have nightmares of max cast builds. I'm sorry, who in the Kentucky Fried Fuck gave this class permission to be this powerful? Not only does the Uchigatana, the class's starting weapon, have a fairly sizable amount of bleed build-up for the early game, it also has the Unsheathe Ash of War on it, and if that doesn't mean jack shit to you, well, just take a look at this. Plus, there's the second Uchi you can pick up within like 10 minutes of starting the game, and from then on there really isn't anything that the game can throw at you that you can't turn into Oriental confetti. Oh, and you also start with a bow and a shield, which no one really uses, so... yeah, I think I've already explained why the katana is all you need. Not many people choose this class, even if they're going for a strength faith build, and I kind of understand why. In the early game, it's basically a weaker Vagabond due to the split scaling between the aforementioned stats, but after looking into it, you might want to take a second look, as the Confessor only falls 1 point short of the Vagabond's strength stats, and the same again for Dex. I feel like if the Confessor came equipped with more interesting incantations like Catch Flame, more people would consider using it. I mean, look at the spells you've got for the Confessor. A heal spell and... Assassin's Approach? Seriously, I know it plays into the Confessor's lore, but who the fuck's actually using these spells? I've had enough for today. I'm gonna go back to petitioning Miyazaki to add the bloody wolf back. Wait, you actually want me to talk about the wretch? Fine, it's not like I can pretend I have anything better to be doing. The wretch is a good choice if you're one of three people. A, you want to prove your dick isn't that small and the Soulspawn games are easy. B, you don't know what path you want to take yet, although we all know damn well you'll be speccing into strength the second you lay your eyes on the Lord Sworn's greatsword and draw a big enough puddle to make all the water for Africa jokers cower in fear. Or C, you're a rune level 1 player. Yeah, that's it. What, did you expect me to start talking about how OP the club is? Because if one more person tells me that, I'm gonna... Credits my friend Artificial Gravity for this outro music. Check out her channel down in the description, and I'll see if I decide to do this sort of thing again. Like if you feel like it. Bye.